All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the Sunday Night Football prop bets here. Let's go ahead and get into it. And so one thing that really shocked me about doing kind of the research for this slate is the fact that, one, the Steelers are favored to win in this game. That to me was very shocking, but also the game total. And then you pair those two together and it's even more shocking. Like, to me, if this game is going to be this high scoring, that would tell me that the Dallas Cowboys are having a great day offensively. I don't see the Steelers, one, winning by 2.5 points, I guess 3, and this game being that high scoring. I think the way that the Steelers win this game is by Najee Harris getting 3.5 yards per carry and them extending these drives. That to me is a crazy line that we are getting. I think that makes it harder to bet because I just don't agree with those lines. And so that's kind of the first takeaway. The second takeaway in this game is we should have some good spots here because of the injuries that we have. We'll start out with the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be without Brendan Cooks. That's pretty much the biggest thing there. To me, guys, I instantly want to get to Jaylen Tolbert a decent amount. But then we look at the snaps as well. Like, it is going to be Tolbert. I've already said this before, watching the film, Tolbert kind of looked like Brendan Cooks. That being said, Jalen Brooks is someone that has looked good as well. I think Jalen Brooks will then step into the Jaylen Tolbert role. He's looked good. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of Turpin as well. Like, to me, guys, we're going to see Lamb get his normal snap share. That's not going to change. We're going to see Jaylen Tolbert get up to 80% of the snaps. And then I think these two, Brooks and Turpin, will probably get like Turpin 35, maybe Brooks 45, something like that. In a way, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more random snaps go to like Hunter Lumpke, who is a blocking. He's a tight end that's being placed at fullback, kind of. I don't know. They're using him in a good way. Let's put it that way. He's kind of their Taysom Hill. But like, we should have some value here. And then we go ahead and get into the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers are kind of banged up as well. I shouldn't say kind of, they are. They're going to be without Cordero Patterson, and they're also going to be without Jaylen Warren, to the point where they're going to have to go to Aaron Shamplink, who was a former Dallas Cowboy player. A little bit of a revenge game for him in a sense. Not really, but you would argue that he's only here because the Dallas Cowboys had him on, I think, they were practice squad in 2022. I know he was picked up by them, played in their preseason a little bit. But interesting there, it's going to be a lot of Najee Harris, I would assume. And so for me, guys, the first bet that I wanted to take a peek at were the bets that we are getting for Jaylen Tolbert. So I think it's worth calling out that we're not really going to get any sort of edge with him in terms of projected edge or edge percent. If you guys are unfamiliar with how this works, the edge percent is taking the average sportsbook line compared against that specific blitz line and seeing if we're getting an edge there based off of how they are valuing it. We are basically never getting an edge there because every sportsbook has juice in their lines, whereas the average sportsbook line is taking a look at the true percent likelihood, the true odds for those lines. So barely ever are we getting that, which would also then be true for the projected edge as well because of the juice that's associated with it. So when I see one that's like minus 0.64%, that's not terrible. But really what I like the most is going to be these reception lines for Jaylen Tolbert. So we got Jaylen Tolbert at 3.5 receptions on ESPN Bet plus 125. I like that over a decent amount. Again, I think he's going to step up into the Brendan Cooks role. And it's not like the Cooks role has been fruitful. I've already been saying that I like Tolbert a decent amount already. And we can see Tolbert's had 3 targets against the Giants, 3 receptions in that game. Actually had 1 called back due to, I think it was an illegal man downfield or something that didn't change the play. A little bit annoying there. Baltimore, 5 targets, 3 receptions. A good game there, had a touchdown. The Saints, 9 targets, 6 receptions in that game. The one concern that I have here is that this game is going to be a lot like the Cleveland game and the Giants game to me, in terms of how the opposing offense not being that good. We'll see what Arthur Smith can put together. But I also kind of see the Cowboys winning this game. And so this is my way of saying, if Vegas is right about how this game goes, if the Cowboys are going to be maybe playing from behind and it is going to be decently high scoring, then I could definitely see Jaylen Tolbert getting over 3.5 receptions. But to me, when I see this line, like I'm okay taking a bet that's not as likely to hit because we're going to get a very good payout. And here guys, here's another one. Jaylen Tolbert on FanDuel, plus 140 to get over 3.5 receptions. I think that's an outlier in the market. I think that's the spot that we should be targeting there. If you want to go over receiving yards, you can. Now, that was the one I wanted to start with because, guys, on PrizePicks, you could bet him get 3 receptions. I do think he has a good chance to get 3 receptions, but that's just not like a good bet. You already saw that the under is pretty heavily favorited there by most sites. That's why PrizePicks has bumped it down now to 3. Again, I think he has a good chance to get to 3 receptions. I just don't feel like we need to go out of our way to target that. I don't mind the idea of going with the over longest reception, 16.5 receiving yards, but I also don't mind the just receiving yards line. There is a good chance that he'll get a kind of deep shot or two. Mid-level deep shot, I should say, so like around 16.5. If he gets 3 receptions, I do think he has a great chance of getting this over receiving yards is the best way to put it. But let's take a peek at what are the current best prop bets that we were getting. We got Dak for over 2.5 rush attempts. Kind of interesting there. He hasn't gotten that over once this year, so it's interesting that that one's being popped up as much as it is. We have him, his rush yards as well, similarly off by 1 between PrizePicks and Underdog. Typically, I just don't like to target quarterback rush props. That's just not something that I like doing. And then we're going to see here, guys. The board is really kind of tight. Now, I do think there's a chance Turpin does get a little bit of work in this game, some manufactured touches. I would actually see him maybe getting like 1.5 receptions. I would see him like getting that over if that's a line. But I don't think his role is like guaranteed. I think I would actually rather go with something like Rico Dowdle to get over 9.5 receiving yards for his longest reception. I don't hate that one. Rico is someone that I just think they're going to need to get going in this game. Now, the Steelers are a great defense. How he gets going is a good question. I don't know. But I do think he'll have some design plays. Like, honestly, him to get over 13.5 receiving yards in total, I don't mind. They should be using him a little bit more in the receiving department. That'd be the edge I would want to go with if we had to choose something there. But as you guys can see, really not that many big edges here for Dallas. We'll jump into Underdog for Dallas as well. And guys, their lines are not that great as well. I actually don't hate the idea of doing Rico for over his receiving or rush yards in the first quarter. I don't hate that. Gosh, I hope he gets that over. He's going to get the first crack at it. That's the thing. And so, man, I don't mind that. It's probably one we're going to be forced to bet against. It's a 1-game slate with a game that I disagree with Vegas, and I think it's going to be more of an ugly game. We'll see. So I don't mind that. But Jake Ferguson is obviously the best one here. Over 4.5 receptions here on Underdog. That one's still available. By all means, go for it. But after that, it does really drop off in terms of what we are getting. Are we getting any reception props for Rico Dowdle? I doubt it. I wonder what that's going to be set at. Probably 2.5 for him. I think I'd be fine betting the over there if that's what we get. So, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the Pittsburgh Steelers now. We'll stay with Underdog. And so here we go. So I think I do want to bet on like Harris in some capacity, probably with his rush attempts. At the same time, like I get why Justin Fields' line is so high for his rush attempts. With Pittsburgh being so banged up at the running back position, we could just see them really try to rush Justin Fields a little bit more. But Harris is someone that got 70% of the snaps last week. I think he's just going to get a workhorse workload in this game. I think I'd be fine betting his over 2.5 receptions. Last week, he had that over basically out of necessity. And we saw when he was a rookie, he had all those receptions. And again, that was a lot out of necessity as well. I think that's a good bet. Again, with Warren out, with Patterson out, they're going to be forced to give him some third down work. And I'm kind of happy to bet that over there. And when I say happy, I mean in the constraints of this 1-game slate. Like that to me is a good bet on this 1-game slate. If it was the Sunday slate or a full slate, I would not be. But yeah, Najee Harris at 17 rush attempts. I'm not sure why it got bumped down because the average sportsbook line has it set at 17.5 as basically a 50-50. They are favoring the under there. But I'm kind of okay with the 17 for his rush attempts. Like that's not terrible. But really, to me, I think the receptions is the best one there. And so we'll jump in and see if we're getting any other good bets here. Darnell Washington has been playing more snaps. It wouldn't be surprising to see him get some action in this game. At the same time, I don't like betting on like guys that we don't know for sure if they're going to be a part of the game plan. I would assume he is. Like I don't mind that, but that's definitely highlight biased right there from his big play last week. From there, George Pickens definitely seems like a low receiving yards total. Again, especially if the Steelers are winning this game, that seems very low. He's been someone that's had a very high target share and a very high target amount. That'd probably be what I would want to go with as well if I had to choose. Like these aren't terrible. I just wish that the data liked them a little bit more as well. Chris Boswell to get over 6.5 kicking points is not a terrible one. Again, if Vegas is right about how this game goes, Chris Boswell getting that kicking points over, not a terrible bet for you guys to be on. And then in general, let's just zoom this out. We'll go to the game, see what are the best prop bets that we're getting in this game. Patrick Queen for over his tackles and assists, not terrible, but that's really about it. from there. First, and for over 4.5 receptions, we are seeing that that's really just the best one that we have for this game. And then I do like Najee to get over 2.5 receptions. If you want to make this a 3-slip bet, like we typically do for underdog because the payout's slightly better than on PrizePicks, I do like Rico's over rush attempts in the first quarter. Man, just get on that one drive that you guys are going to get. Please, first carry. Let's do it. I don't mind that. I'm going to include that as a bet as well. And then we are going to jump into PrizePicks for the Steelers, taking a peek at that. So we have Pat Freiermuth for under 3.5 receptions as basically the opposite bet of Jake Ferguson. I don't mind that, but at the same time, given how banged up that they are, given that Justin Fields can't really see down the field, I think Pat Freiermuth does have actually a decent chance to get over 3.5 receptions in this game. I don't really love that one, but that's really it for the Steelers. So it does make the slate much tighter, I would say. You could choose Najee on either side for his receptions if you guys agree with me on that bet, but it is a tight slate. The biggest difference here is definitely Calvin Austin receiving yards, for what that's worth. Only playing about 45 to 55% of the snaps, which I find strange. But projection day likes is over, so on underdog, this would actually be a better bet than on PrizePicks. Did want to call that out to you guys. The average sportsbook line is basically saying that it should be in the middle, though. And then looking at the PrizePicks bet of the day, again, I do like Rico to have a decent day receiving the football. 13.5 receiving yards, not terrible. But none of these are really great bets when we're like trying to gain an edge on Vegas. Did want to call that out. Like Jaylen Tolbert, again, I think he'll get 4 receptions, but Vegas is really strongly predicting that he'll get under 3.5 receptions. Pat Freiermuth is one that I'm going to take a peek at right after this bet of the day and show you guys it there because I want to see if we're getting any edges, like which line is currently the best for us to bet the over on, actually. And then Najee Harris, I do think he'll get over 2.5 receptions. Don't let me down, Najee. Don't let me down. Arthur Smith is what I should say. I've been hyping up Arthur Smith a decent amount on this channel. Don't let me down, buddy. And yeah, just real quickly, let's take a peek at those receptions props for him. Which book has given us the worst line on him for Muth, as the Steelers fans like to say? ESPN bet plus 105 would be the best one there in terms of gain edge there. So not terrible there as well. All right.